here. Okay, we are live on Facebook and YouTube right now, and I'm trying to get our Instagram. Looks like we are live on Instagram right now. Wait for a few people to sign in. People are joining us on Instagram. Nice. All right. Hello, everybody. We've got some fun stuff that's going to happen. We're about to talk to YouTube right now. Yep, we're live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube right now. Okay, hi everyone. I'm waiting for a few people to log in. My name's Kathy Stanley. I run Camp Cocker Rescue, and today we're going to have a force-free dog trainer on, Jessie Kasper, who knows a lot of stuff. She's just a bottomless wealth of information. So, but today we're going to talk about safety with children and dogs, and let's bring Jessie on the screen. Jessie and myself. Hi, Jessie.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, everyone.
Let's see here. How's this? This is good, right?
We got to bring the slides up.
Oh, we got to bring the slides back up. All right.
There we
go. Hi, everyone. So, Jessie, I was going to have you first give everyone who doesn't know, I'm always talking about force-free dog training, but not everybody knows what I'm talking about. Do you want to just give a quick explanation of what force-free dog training is and what your background is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope everyone's going to be able to see these slides okay. But if you turn your phone potentially in landscape, it might be a little bit bigger for you guys on mobile and stuff like that. But I'm Jessie Kasper. I'm the owner and behavioral trainer with Mindful Methods Companion Coaching. We're based out of the Chicagoland area. I have 2 other trainers in my program as well. So altogether, we cover a pretty decent sized area in the Chicago suburbs. But I personally am certified with the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. I'm an accredited dog trainer with them. I'm a family dog mediator, so that has a special focus in genetics and applied ethology. And what applied ethology means is basically just the study of behavior in captivity, because behavior out in nature will look much different than a captive animal. I'm also a fear-free certified professional. I am a certified pet nutrition coach, which I don't offer services for. I do recommend that people seek out the advice of a board certified vet nutritionist. I just took that course to kind of further my knowledge with anatomy and the different ways that food can affect health issues. And on the human side of things, I'm an emotional CPR certified practitioner. So that is being certified in active listening skills. It is a trauma-informed approach. I think that's really important because some people are honestly traumatized by their animals in the line of work that I do. And then on the side as well, I also am a board member for Breed Specific Rescue. So I've been volunteering and fostering with Illinois Doberman Rescue Plus for almost 15 years. So
love that. I love it. I love it because you're bringing a mindset to this that helps rescuers, because you are a rescuer.
Yes, I am. That's how I started. I owe honestly my entire career to rescuing. I don't think I ever would have been doing this had it not been for being a volunteer. So yeah, it's awesome. And now, so we do a little bit more than just Dobermans. The Plus is like our mixed breed division too. So and I know that you guys pull dogs from like everywhere, which is astounding to me.
Well, we are also a breed-specific rescue focusing on Cocker Spaniels, but there's very few Cocker Spaniels in our shelters. anymore, which is a quality problem I'm super happy about. But to keep, our focus on Cocker Spaniels, we do rescue from South Korea and Mongolia. We've taken a few from Mexico in the past, but right now we don't have a rescue partner in Mexico. And then from local shelters, we get some mixed breeds, small breeds. I've got, Cupie, who's a little white, hit by car puppy that had an amputation. And then my other non-cocker is a little mommy dog named Candy with her puppies. She came from a shelter. So we do a variety. I try to do my part and help dogs from local shelters, although the focus is Cocker Spaniels.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I've been following you guys now since we met on Facebook, and I'm just like, I'm blown away by how much work you guys do. I think you guys are incredible. So it's honestly a pleasure and an honor to be here with you guys today. Really.
So the reason I wanted to talk about this topic today is that there seems to be a myth, and I don't know if it's just with Cocker Spaniels, but there seems to be a myth that Cockers are great family dogs. Get a Cocker and have a baby at the same time, and everything's going to be like Lady and the Tramp, a Disney movie. And it's the opposite. And I think a lot of people who come to us who have children, especially toddlers and babies, they don't quite understand what it takes to have a successful, harmonious dog-child relationship in the home. So that's why I wanted to have you on here. I think it's great information, and I'm hoping that people, if they're not watching it live, they'll watch the replay later.
Yeah, awesome. So my primary focus, though, is behavior modification, reactivity, aggression. I do fear and anxiety. I also do basic manners. I do puppies and stuff too. So training for all ages. And then my services you can find on my website, mindfulmethodstraining.com/services. I do in-home and virtual consultations, in-home and virtual training. So I'm able to help anyone anywhere. I've actually had quite a few clients in California, which is interesting.
Maybe you'll get some more now that people are going to start to get to know you.
Yeah, I'm happy to also travel and train your dog. Always happy to come to California.
That's a long trip. That's an expensive training session.
Yeah, my best friend also lives in California, so it's a win-win.
Oh, that's good.
I do phone consultations as well. So if you have one specific issue you want advice on, those are about 45 minutes long. I do mobility and posture profiles, which I know Kathy was really interested in. So that is a tool that we use to communicate with veterinarians and specialists, particularly potentially physical therapists as well for osteo issues. So I put the dogs through a specific series of behaviors, as well as videoing movement. I clip it all together, I slow it down, and then we provide that file to a veterinarian or a specialty vet to try to help with advocacy for the animal. And then I also do rescue evaluations and training too. So I give special discounts to 501c3 organizations and special deals. So
awesome. I really love what you do with trying to rule out if there's a pain reason or a physical reason for the dog's behavior. And I don't think a lot of trainers do that. I love that. I love that you analyze their body.
It's really important to see the whole dog before we start training the dog. We need to make sure that all of its needs are met. So nutritional needs, physical needs, enrichment needs, sleep, all of that. A well-balanced dog is going to be a lot easier to train. So honestly, the first thing I do when I go and start working with someone is the dog bored? Is the dog tired? Is the dog sick? Those are all questions that I answer and that I ask and that I need to make sure are in line before I start applying training to the dog. So
right.
I always just express to people, think about how you feel when you're sick. If you were sick to your stomach and then I tried to teach you world history, would you absorb that information as well as you might when you're a fully functioning human being? So, and usually that answer is no.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's a lot of educating the owners, which I appreciate.
Yes.
So, oh, thank you. I was going to ask you to explain the force-free training for people who don't know.
Yeah. So force-free training basically just avoids the intentional application of training methods that utilize fear, discomfort, and intimidation to teach the animal. So force-free training most heavily relies on positive reinforcement-based methods. And you had asked me to explain the learning quadrants, which there's 4 of them. They
Yes.
they're
This
confusing.
is, yeah, for anyone looking at this right now, if this looks confusing to you, I'm with you. I have an idea. It's been explained to me, but it would be great to go over the 4 quadrants for people who don't know.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is probably a trainer's least favorite subject. Sometimes it requires a little bit of thinking when you're quizzed on it. And we often are when we do our certifications. And all of the trainers that I know are like, that's the worst part of the test. Because when I'm training, I'm really not stopping and thinking like, and what is what I'm doing falling on this quadrant or this quadrant, right? Like we're analyzing the entire dog in front of us before we apply any methods and stuff like that. So what I will say about the quadrants of learning is that somehow they're too simple while also being way overly complicated at the same time. So basically, what reinforcement means is that the behavior happens more often with reinforcement. And what punishment means is that behavior is going to happen less often. So positive means we're adding. It doesn't mean positive as in treats or something positive. Positive simply means adding. And then negative means removing. So I think a lot of people, when they talk about the different types of training they've been through before, I get a lot of people who cross over from having used more traditional training before, and they'll say, I used a negative reinforcement trainer before. And really what they meant was positive punishment. So they may have been using something like prong collars, shock collars, those sorts of things. So it's confusing. Don't feel bad if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I'll give you guys some common examples here. So with positive reinforcement, if the dog goes into the crate and is given a treat, right, we're adding the treat, the dog is more likely to go in the crate in the future. With positive punishment, the dog barks and is sprayed in the face with water. I don't want you guys to get any ideas.
No, please don't do that.
The dog is less likely to bark. With negative reinforcement, there are some techniques that utilize pressure on the leash. So when the dog stops pulling, a trainer may release pressure from the leash, and then the dog is more likely to walk on a loose leash. I'll tell you that rarely ever happens. Negative punishment, the dog would be jumping on you and you would walk away. So you're taking away something from the dog. So the dog is less likely to jump on you in the future. Now, this is what's most important about the quadrants of learning is our intentions are very important. What we meant to do means something, but the way that the dog interprets it is where the learning actually takes place and is what is most important here. So in this first example where I talk about the dog going in the crate and being given a treat, let's say the dog is terrified of the crate and then we lure it into the crate with a treat. We could actually accidentally do what's called poisoning, what we meant to be reinforcing that food. So the food becomes an indicator that something really scary is about to happen. And dogs get suspicious of food. So our intention was to reward the dog for going in the crate, but what actually happened is we lured the dog into a situation that they felt was dangerous. And that's where it gets hinky with quadrants of learning. And in the example of positive punishment, where we spray the dog in the face with water, let's say we have a dog that loves water and they think that's a fun game. Now the dog more. Or is absolutely terrified of water and associates you with the punisher instead of the water. So now there may be some increased fear and stuff around you as a person. So, and certainly for dogs that love to pull on leash, your huskies, all of those that have that genetic memory for pulling, applying additional, force on the leash could be really rewarding. They're like, woohoo, a challenge for me. So
Right.
there's a lot of ways with these examples where it could just totally backfire. So it's really important to hire a trainer that really understands the nuance of training and application of these methods with your dog and what is likely to happen.
Right.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. If there's one theme, it's like, don't DIY it. As soon as you have any challenges, get a professional. Get a professional force-free trainer, because the people who try to DIY their training can sometimes make it worse.
Yes. What I find is people are really well-intentioned, right? People love their dogs. So even though I'm a force-free trainer, I get hired by a lot of people who are crossover training, who have used traditional methods. And regardless of whatever's been done in the past, what I know is that overwhelmingly people love their dogs and don't want to hurt them, right? And they're just doing the best they can with the knowledge that they currently possess. So that's
Right.
my philosophy. But yes, a lot of people think, oh, the dog's going to grow out of the behavior, when actually what happens is practice makes perfect. Whether you're practicing good or bad things,
Yeah.
desirable or undesirable, a lot of times dogs grow into behaviors and get better at them, unfortunately. So getting a professional in right away can be really helpful.
Right. So, okay, this is awesome. All right.
So before we get into the meat of the presentation on kids and dogs, I do want to mention that I'm giving back to Camp Cocker. I'm giving 50% of all sales of my digital courses for the remainder of the month will go back to Camp Cocker. So you can learn while supporting a good cause. So you'll get lifetime access to 2 different courses that I have. The body language mini course is an amazing addition to this talk today. Especially, we're going to go over a little bit of body language, but I'm not going to be able to, with the time constraints, to do like a full presentation. It is one of the core concepts that the adult needs in the situation in order to guide a child. So that one's really awesome. But my behavior basics course is a 7-module course. It includes body language, talk a little bit about resource guarding. The information from today is in there, plus a lot of stuff I couldn't cover about children and dogs, safe greetings, safe handling. I talk a little bit about medical issues and behavior and just common roadblocks that people run into. But yes, for the rest of this month, if you purchase one of my digital courses, these are self-paced as well. So you can pick it up and put it down. But I'm going to be giving money back to Camp Cocker for having me on today.
That's so great. Do people need a code or anything when they buy the digital course?
No, I'm just going to take the grand total of digital courses that I sold this month and give you guys 50% of it.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank
I'll
you.
send you like a total on it from my credit card processor. And
thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Jessie.
So one of the main things we talked about when you first reached out to me was that, like, one of your biggest questions was that people are looking to adopt a dog that's good with children, right? That's very common.
That's such a common question. People ask us, is this dog good with kids? And then I always have to say to the people, well, it depends on the children. Are your kids good with dogs? And what are the ages of your kids? Do they have they been taught doggy manners? So it's a two-way street. It's not like yeah, the dog's gonna tolerate any handling from any children of any age. And I don't think that's true of any dog, but especially not true of the Cocker breed, who easily gets overwhelmed by inappropriate handling from children.
Yeah. And they're on the smaller side too. So keeping in mind that dogs that are smaller are going to feel a little bit more overwhelmed by people who are towering over them and stuff like that. But I find in general, it's a tall order to ask a dog to be good with all children. And I always tell my clients, I'm hired a lot for this, is, kind of ask yourself, what is it about kids that make them so scary sometimes? So I love children. I have one, but if they are not the most unpredictable beings on the face of the planet, they can be loud, they move really fast, they can be clumsy. In a dog's mind, they fall for no reason, they cry for no reason. And very young children can be very rough with their hands by accident. Even though they're trying to be nice, they can just sometimes be clumsy.
Right.
So
it's from a dog's perspective, like children, like especially toddlers who are just learning to toddle and walk and fall down. It's like a little drunk person to the
yes.
dog. It's like, what's happening next? I can't predict this environment and what the next movement's going to be.
Yeah. A lot of people reach out to me. I would say, probably 95% of people who reach out to me for issues with kids, it's happening as soon as the kids start toddling around. The dog was okay when the baby was a potato that didn't move. But then the dog is like, oh my gosh, you walk?
You walk? You have little tiny hands that can grab at my Cocker Spaniel ears?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And to your point with Cocker Spaniel ears, who doesn't want to touch them? And just their fur in general is soft and curly and inviting and all of those things. So I think that can be part of what gets them in trouble. And they have that. Look at this dog on the screen. It's just adorable.
Adorable, yeah.
So I'm going to wear many hats during this presentation. My rescuer hat comes on when I talk about what it's like for dogs that are coming into a new home. And I really try to impress upon people that change is super stressful. Always think about where the dog may have come from. So lost its original family, went to the shelter, then to a foster home, then to you. That's really confusing. And in the case of your rescue, you're talking about bringing dogs in from other countries. We've got flights going on. It's madness in a world that is already difficult for a dog to comprehend. So it's kind of like culture shock, even within our own culture, going from home to home locally. But then especially for your rescue, when you're talking about potential differences in care standards in other places, and then coming to us, maybe they lived outside their whole life. Sometimes we just don't know. Right. So, and I always tell our adopters at Illinois Doberman Rescue that your environment is different from the foster home. Layouts of homes can make a big difference. If their crate was on the second floor in the foster home where it was quieter, and now you have it in the middle of your TV room, that's going to be really rough. The children in the foster home may have lots of practice with different dogs of varying temperaments. My daughter's 10 years old. We've fostered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dogs. So she has a different perspective of dogs than the general public's children may have. And then were there other dogs in the foster home that were confident and helped the dog feel safe? If you bring a dog in as a singleton and then we learn things about them that we didn't know in foster, like as a singleton, they're more nervous, or if you already have a dog in your home that's very nervous and they feed off each other's energy, it can be a really tough situation. So I always tell people to take it slow. I know a lot of rescuers don't like this rule, the rule of threes. I think, Kathy, you prefer the rule of six, right?
I like the 666. But you go ahead and explain what the 333 is.
So 333 is just 3 days to decompress. When we bring a dog home, what I like to do is offer them an interior room of the home that is quiet and away from foot traffic. And I like to spend time one-on-one with the dog, getting to know them and establishing a bond and safety and trust, teaching them their name, some good manners before I even introduce them to my child. I like to understand a baseline of how they operate with just me. And then 3 weeks to begin learning your routine. So I'll do really slow introductions to my home, one room at a time, one family member at a time, one dog at a time, because I have 3 here. So, and I have 3 cats too. So it can be very overwhelming, but 3 weeks to begin learning your routine, and then 3 months to really begin to settle in. And this is just very broad. Every dog's going to be different. Sometimes we bring home, a puppy and they are very, yeah, this is where I am now.
Yeah.
And you bring home a puppy mill dog and it may be longer than 333. So we have to meet dogs where they're at behaviorally and what they can tolerate. But I just love this as a general rule to get people to kind of take a step back.
Right.
So what do you find most often? Because you said you like the 666.
Well, I like the 666 rule, and I think a trainer or a couple of trainers have mentioned in the past that you don't see the whole dog's whole personality for 6 months.
Yep.
That's like a little onion. They're peeling off, they're revealing more and more of who they really are. And I think 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months is more realistic, especially in adopters who are bringing a new dog in. Like, I think some people expect instant family member, like add water and stir. And every dog's different. Like, some dogs maybe can just walk into a new home and be like, okay, cool, I'm here. And other dogs, like, you need that slow introduction like you described. So every dog's different, but I think the 666 is what I like, but the 333 is more common.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I do get a lot of calls from adopted dogs who are like, they were an angel for the first 6 months. And now all of a sudden, it's like the honeymoon period in dating, right? You're on your best behavior.
Yep. It's like they're on their best behavior, and then their real selves come out, and they're like, stealing your credit cards and going on joyrides in your car like college kids.
Yep. Yep. Like, oh, all of a sudden the dog ate a hole in my wall. So I wanted to just talk about some statistics. There aren't a lot of trainers and rescuers and stuff that particularly care for statistics either. Because the problem with them is that some things will be underreported. So smaller dogs like Chihuahuas and stuff like that who are biting and can't do damage or aren't doing damage may not be. If someone doesn't seek medical care, it is less likely to be reported, right?
Right.
Larger dogs will see an overrepresentation. And particularly when it comes to kids too, when children are bit, people are more likely to report that happening. So,
right.
But just to give kind of an idea of where things are right now, the Humane Society estimates that 51% of dog bite victims are children. The AVMA states that the rate of dog bites for children is highest between the ages of 5 and 9 years old. Getting bitten by a dog is the second most frequent cause of visits to emergency rooms for children. And the reason for that is because their skin is more sensitive, their digits are smaller. All of that stuff is going to play into why children get hurt more than adults do with dogs.
Wow, that's a pretty startling. It's in your thing, startling statistics. That's pretty shocking. That's the second. It's the second most common reason for a visit to an emergency room.
Yeah.
For a child. Wow. Yep. That should really wake some people up who are thinking of just getting a dog and they have kids in the home. They really need this information that you're sharing today.
Yeah. And so, like I said, children are more likely than adults to need medical attention and are far more likely to be severely injured. I believe I read another statistic that said kids are more likely to be bit around the face or neck area as well than adults are, probably from hugging, kissing dogs, things like that. Right. And then young children score really badly in discriminating dog body language and look mainly at the face of the dog to make their decisions. So learning body language and teaching your child body language is really, really important.
Right. Can I just say something? Let me insert something really quick here. So twice now in the history of Camp Cocker Rescue, we've adopted out friendly Cocker Spaniels to homes, no aggression, and 2 different situations where the dog bit a toddler in the face. And both times were because like one was the people didn't even have children, and they were out for the day, and they asked their neighbor to come over and let their dog out and feed the dog. And the neighbor brought her 3-year-old daughter with, and the daughter was hugging the Cocker Spaniel around the neck, like, oh, isn't that cute? And the mother was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then it was the dog's mouth being by the child's face, and the child got bit because the dog panicked and felt like it couldn't escape. And the child needed plastic surgery, and I think it came really close to the tear duct. So when I tell people, I often tell parents who have children, if they're going to adopt a cocker or any dog, the number one thing is don't let your child hug. Don't hug the dog, or your child's face is there and you're restricting the dog's movement. So, but it's happened twice in the history of Camp Cocker. We've adopted a totally friendly Cocker Spaniel that went on to bite some child in the face because the parents didn't know. They just didn't know that letting your child hug a dog is really dangerous.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, sometimes I'm going to put on my rescuer hat.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes that can determine the adoptability of a dog going forward too. If the dog has done enough damage to a child to need plastic surgery, is that dog going to be adoptable again? And that gets even more serious for the breed that I love the most, which is Dobermans. They can do a great amount of damage to a child. And so this is really an important topic for me. Because it can cost dogs dearly for making those choices.
Right.
So,
both of those dogs that bit a child in the face, they both got returned to Camp Cocker, and I had them both evaluated by a trainer, like a good, write up, and they found new homes with no children, with the disclaimer, like, don't let them around children. And they were perfectly friendly dogs after. So it was the situation they were put into that prompted them to bite. So anyways.
Well, most dog bites affecting kids occur during everyday activities while interacting with familiar dogs. So it's not dogs that are running around the street just attacking kids. It's dogs inside of homes. The vast majority of biting dogs, 77% of them, belong to the victim's family or a friend. And then 80% of dog bites happen in the home. So all of these statistics are very similar across different avenues, but it's happening with known dogs.
Right. It's not like you're going for a walk down the street and random dogs are coming up to attack your child. It's known dogs where you don't think you need to watch your child or teach them how to interact.
Yeah. So all of these photos that you're seeing in my slide set are stock photos that I found
crazy
on the program I designed it with, which makes it really easy for me to make presentations. But we're going to break down these images as we keep going to teach you guys a little bit about body language. But I think it's just so pervasive in our media every day that we see these inappropriate interactions between dogs and children. So this first one here, we have this crying baby, and this dog is on top of the baby, licking the baby's face. I'm not going to have time to go over it today, but I want you guys to Google kiss or dismiss. So this is a stress thing that some dogs will do when they don't know what to do to make space. They will actually lick the face. There's a very specific way that they do this, and the way that they either move into your space or do not. So kiss or dismiss, you can find some great resources on that. But it is what I call a fidget response for dogs. When they don't know what to do, it's kind of like a friend that made a bad joke at the wrong time. They're kind of like trying to lighten the mood, but dogs will lick each other's mouths to kind of diffuse the situation and be like, I mean no harm. So sometimes kissing in the face can actually mean, hey, I'm overwhelmed and I need space. But in particular, when we have this little infant crying and the dog is on top of it, we have hands flailing around. The infant could accidentally grab handfuls of fur. So these types of situations, really, we want to eliminate. We don't want those happening between very small children and dogs. Now with this one, we've got the child with its arm around the dog here. So the stress that we're seeing in this photo is pinned back ears. We call these pinned ears. We also have the dog is kind of leaning away from the child. So not really leaning into, but we have the upper part of the body kind of leaning away. We can see the impressions in the whisker area here. So sometimes that can be, stress in the whiskers where you have those very prominent whisker points there can mean some stress is going on. But in general, we have this dog being held onto, restricted, movement is restricted, maybe feels like it can't get away or that these lower level stress signals are being ignored. So there's a potential that a dog could feel like they need to escalate to be heard, growling, barking, biting, all of those things.
Right. And this is the thing, like, I mean, a lot of adults wouldn't be able to recognize the ears pointing back and the dog, and especially a child. So this is just why children need to be not left alone with the family dog, especially when they're that young.
Yeah, it takes a second for it to
Yeah.
happen. So, and again, in this one here, we've got the child behind the dog, reaching over with both arms. This dog is again looking away. We have got the ears pinned back and a little bit of stress around the mouth. So the lip is a little bit tighter. We can see the mouth is in a C shape here with the back molars. The tongue is loose, sitting loosely between the front teeth. But in general, I just don't like to see kids barreling over dogs in this manner.
Right. And then I had mentioned this to you when we spoke last time that I had read in one of Patricia McConnell's books that hugging in the dog world is perceived as an act of aggression. And so, and children, hugging is an act of love. So you've got these two species and their perceptions of what a hug means, and you're just setting up the child. The child doesn't think it's doing an act of aggression when it hugs a dog, but the dog is perceiving it as an act of aggression. Yeah. And a lot of parents don't know that.
Yep, exactly. So, when we have dogs that are being very confrontational with each other, they may stare directly into each other's eyes until one of them breaks away and looks away, or walks away. So in a dog's world, that very confrontational and especially grabbing and holding down, think about what dogs are doing when they fight each other.
Right.
They're pinning each other down. So,
restricting movement. It's like when you go to a vet and a vet is examining a dog, they're restricting their movement. But that's an adult, and sometimes they muzzle the dog. But for a child to restrict the movement of a dog is a really risky thing to allow your child to do.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, more fun pictures that are just common in our media. Like we're all seeing these in media.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All of these are stock photography too that I pulled off of this program. So It's really incredible. But don't allow them to hug, kiss, or carry a dog around. Do teach them about proper greetings and consent to petting. We are actually going to have a live demo of consent to pet with my daughter in probably about 15 minutes. So don't allow them to stick their hands in food bowls or play with other resources. So we can accidentally teach a dog that their food will be messed with and that there is a reason to guard it when we allow children to put their hands in the food and stuff like that. So I always recommend giving all resources in a crate or safe space and removing the empty food bowls off the floor when they're done with them, because even empty food bowls can be guarded. But just put the dog away, let them eat their food, let them back out. That's the best practice.
And also, like, people need to think about it. How would you feel if you were just trying to have your lunch and someone came over and was like sticking their hand or taking your food? Like you wouldn't be able to eat in a relaxed manner. You'd be tense. Like,
Exactly. And as people talking to another person, we have a lot of language at our disposal for that, but some people will get loud and raise their voice and eventually start to throw hands, right?
Right.
And so when there's this mismatch in communication between humans and dogs where we're we may not be as good at reading their body language, then they feel like they have to escalate to shouting, right?
Right.
Their shout is a growl. So don't allow them to bother a resting dog. So a lot of dogs get very startled to be woken up out of nowhere. That can be a cause for bites. Offering your dog rest in a quiet, safe space. Don't allow them to sit or ride on a dog. This is really structurally unsafe for a dog too, not just, behaviorally for them feels questionable, but it's also dangerous for their bones. They're not a horse. They were not designed for that type of pressure on their bones.
Yeah, especially like Cocker Spaniels already have issues with disc compression in their backs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big myth that if the dog didn't like it, they would just move away. Actually, cats are way better at that. Running away from what they don't like. Dogs will give a lot of different stress signals before they escalate into growling, biting, lunging, and stuff. And I do teach dogs how to make better choices to make space from the things that bother them. But they are not all of them are hardwired like that. They really are not. So do supervise all interactions and separate when needed, and then don't allow either party to play rough. So we really want to kind of get in front of that. A child that is playing rough with the dog, and then the dog is escalating, and maybe the dog's even excited, but then starts nipping and pulling at the clothes and has torn skin during playing or something like that. Allowing the child to chase the dog or the dog to chase the child. This is an exchange of energy between them, and they're sometimes absorbing it and things get out of hand and accidents happen. So in my line of work, I love to invite children that are old enough to participate in training exercises, and that helps to encourage proper interactions and manners and set really good precedent between the child and the dog about what is appropriate and what is not. So yeah, I've got these blown up for you guys too.
Okay, I love it. Here's all common images that we are shown as consumers.
Yep.
We see these images in commercials and ad campaigns.
Yeah.
And
particularly
giving us bad messaging.
This dog here is, leaning away from this child. This Chihuahua is super tiny. While it doesn't appear to be particularly bothered, I do want people to think about just how scary it is to be like a 5-pound dog and to be picked up and brought to someone's face. That's the world in general feels really big. And then to just have your consent and autonomy taken away. This dog on the bottom here, I will say, is very tolerant, but is very, very uncomfortable with this interaction. So the child is lifting the lip here. We've got what's called a whale eye here. So we see the white of the eye. And we also have a really prominent, what's called a furrowed brow going on here. So that is, concern on the dog's part. And then it does appear that the dog is, leaning away once again. It's not leaning into the child. There's definitely appears to be kind of, yikes going on there.
Oh my God. I think that's like the worst one.
Yeah.
That's a baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
And then obviously this child riding on the dog. This dog here, again, with the tongue, there's some stress in the tongue. It's not relaxed between the front of those teeth. It's sticking out. But just in general, it's just not safe. Whether the dog cares or not, it's not safe.
Right.
So I always tell people, if you cannot supervise, manage. Managing is not a failure. And in fact, for busy families, you are doing your dog a kindness and yourself a kindness. We cannot be everywhere all the time, 24/7. It's a big win, and it avoids accidents. It avoids dog bites, all of those things. So one of my favorite processes for management is actually the safe space. So this I took from a photo from one of my clients, really well-made safe space. But the idea is like nothing bad ever happens to me in here. And when children are smaller, we put them in X-Pens all the time. We got to vacuums. We're going to contain them with all their toys and all their fun things. And we're going to do what we need to do. uninterrupted so they don't fall down the stairs.
Right.
You know, we should be doing the same thing with dogs, especially because kids grow out of X-Pens and they start climbing over them and getting out of them. Dogs typically, when they're conditioned appropriately to them, will actually accept them and appreciate them for their entire life, which is really wonderful. So creating a safe space and using it, what I would like for people to do is to condition the safe space with positivity. So we're feeding all meals inside of it, giving all enrichment inside of it when absolutely nothing is happening in the house. We want this to be like a daily staple for the dog. I have clients that use safe spaces for a lot of different things. Storms are a big one, just visitors of any sort. But what we don't want to happen with the safe space is they're only put inside of it when something terrifying is about to happen, like a pack of children coming over. You know? So putting them in there when nothing is happening and really making it comfortable. You can use a pressure gate in an adjoining room or a gate system. I recommend providing 3 to 5 high value enrichment items inside of them so that your dog can make lots of good choices while they're inside of there and is motivated to spend time inside of it. So instead of the dog making the choice to bite the child, the dog can make the choice to be put away and work on calming activities like a Kong, lick mats, you know, bully sticks, whatever you like to give your dog. Have a nice comfy dog bed in there so it's attractive to be in there. And it can be located within eyesight of common areas to make positive associations while working on enrichment, but it also doesn't have to be. If you have a dog that is absolutely terrified of children or really any visitors or is demonstrating dangerous behaviors towards any visitors, sometimes the best practice is actually just to put that dog away in a very quiet room, away from all the commotion that's going on in the house, instead of putting the dog through something that's very stressful.
That's what we have a dog named Hershey that's having a hard time getting adopted, and he has stranger danger. So at his foster home, he has it's a clear acrylic puppy pen, but his foster mom calls it his house, and only good things are in there in his house, like his toys, his bed, his water bowl. That's where he eats dinner. And then Hershey now, like, if he's told Hershey, go to your house, he runs down the hallway into the bedroom and goes into his house. Like, he knows it's his house.
Yeah.
And he's safe there and he likes it.
Yeah. These spaces are predictably positive all the time, and they can easily be replicated in a new environment too. So if you're watching and you're a foster home, if you set up a safe space for your dog, these are concepts that can transfer over to a new adoptive home, and we can give them a sense of security immediately in an environment that feels out of control.
Yeah. Because when I had been taking care of Hershey, a couple of times I've taken care of him when his foster mom was out of town, and I set him up in a similar setup at my house. So he felt, I recreated it. So he felt like he had a safe place that was just his.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that when the dog does have constant access to it and uses it daily, is they start to make the choice to remove themselves from scary situations, just put themselves away. So one of my clients told me, I pulled my vacuum out and my dog went right into the safe space, right? Because the vacuum's not going to come in the safe space.
Right.
Nothing bad ever happens inside of there.
Yeah.
So they start to choose these areas when they feel uncertain, and it can give people a big indicator, especially if like parties or something. If your dog retreats to the safe space, maybe it's time to close the gate and just kind of let them rest, right? Because an overtired dog could be a grumpy dog too. So it can give us some feedback about where our dogs are emotionally when they start seeking those spaces out. One of my favorite concepts is using visual aids, though. Children learn shapes, colors, signs from a very young age. Printing out stop signs or stop lights, whatever you've taught your child, and hanging them on hot spots can be extremely helpful. And this is actually how me and Kathy met. I posted this in a Facebook group, and she asked me to do.
I love this because this is brilliant, and it never occurred to me to tell parents to do this. But look at all the implementations of just a little stop sign.
So we can put it near dog beds. on gates, on safe spaces, especially if you've got strange children coming, strange to the dog, children coming over to the home. This is a really easy way to just have a visual reminder of not to go any closer to those areas. It's easily identifiable. They start learning shapes when they're, at what, 1, 2, I don't know. I can't, it's been so long. My daughter's 10. I don't remember when we started with shapes, probably 6 months old, you start talking about stuff like that. So
I love the visual. I love it.
Double gates can provide more space from children who are also having an issue. So in that photo there, this is my office here, but this is also my foster room. This is where I decompress dogs. So I will actually, and you can actually see I have a gate here as well. So I will actually box that off right here. So I'll actually box that off so not even my dogs can walk past the door where I have a stressed out dog. I eliminate all foot traffic past those areas for brand new foster dogs. But for kids, it can just provide a little bit more space from something that's very triggering. Tape lines on the floor can also work pretty well too. If you've got an X-pen situation going on, you can tape around the entire perimeter of the X-pen and say no closer than this with your front toes.
Wow, that's great. I mean, this is just great using these visual aids when children are in the home.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of pressure off the parent too, to constantly monitor and navigate those situations. It's just really, really easy management tricks. So
these are all great tips for management. Management. I love that word.
Yes. Manage. Another concept that I love is narrating interactions. So we say a lot of really common stuff to kids, even like little babies who are in strollers. We just kind of like navigate the world around us. Just like we're crossing the street. Let's look both ways. Even like a 2-week-old child in a carrier,
Right.
Talk to them all the time. See the fire, the stove is hot. Don't touch. Be careful of the stairs, all of those things. So why not also say things like the doggy is sleeping, don't touch. See how the doggy moved away from you. He doesn't want to be bothered. Oops, the doggy's ears are back and he's licking his lips. He doesn't like that. So starting to point out body language for children and dogs can make them just more well-rounded in the future. And when you teach your dogs these things, when you teach your kids these things with your own dogs, it makes them safer with strange dogs.
Right.
There's going to come a day where they go over to other people's houses with dogs that you don't know. And it just
right. And these tips that you're like narrating, oh, the dog's ears are back. Like most parents don't even recognize that themselves. Like dog trainers are to educate the parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I said that body language mini course that I have is the perfect complement to this, because it hammers in body language in like 45 minutes. That's all we talk about is stress, trigger stacking, decompression, enrichment, all of those things. And then in my larger course, it's builds upon itself. It's a continual talk about all of these different pictures I have here. We see again, so it's a lot of really good information.
Yeah. I almost wish that, I mean, I don't think it's realistic, but I almost wish that everyone who adopts from us would be enthusiastic about learning this, like taking the digital course, because it's just so valuable to bank this knowledge, even if you don't have children.
Absolutely. Even adults, I deal with a lot of cases that are biting their owners and stuff. And honestly, like 75% of it is teaching the adults to learn lower level stress signals before a dog feels like they have to scream their discomfort. So,
right.
So knowledge is everything. I do have some reading recommendations. This is one of 2 for you guys. So this is Good Dog by Evelyn Peng and Hilary Louie. You can actually find this on my website in my free resources. I have a little button on my free resources that says must-have list, and I have a lot of great books, but this is one of them. So a recent study suggested that the ability to recognize dog emotions is mainly the result of experience. Children have difficulty recognizing emotions other than anger and happiness. There's a whole range of emotions that dogs are capable of feeling other than anger and happiness. In adults, people who grew up with dogs and or in a dog positive culture were better able to read emotions from facial expressions. However, they still have difficulty recognizing fear. So that's kind of universal, whether you're a child or an adult. Fear is a really difficult thing for people to recognize in dogs. But this is a great book for you to sit with your kids and learn about as a family. I also have this one here, Kids Comprehensive Guide to Speaking Dog. So this by Nikki Tudge. This can also be found on my must-have list on my website as well.
I didn't even know about these books. These are great tips.
Thank you. There's a lot of really great books out there for kids, honestly, but I don't want to kill you guys with homework. So. All right. So this little graphic on the side is probably really difficult for you guys to see, but it's a Lily Chin illustration, and she actually has a bunch of amazing ones on her website. It's doggydrawings.net. So she's got a lot of really great things that you can print out to show children and start to teach them these types of things. So many things that humans do feel threatening, smiling with teeth showing. When we think about two dogs speaking to each other, and being threatening with each other, they're going to show teeth. Some dogs are really good at reading human emotion and have realized that a smile does not mean we're being aggressive. But if a dog is very afraid, we want to be cognizant of that fact. Standing square with the dog, so head on, we always want to try to reduce our profile and kind of stand sideways so we're less threatening. Making direct eye contact with the dog can be threatening. Leaning over a dog, reaching toward a dog, petting the top of the head, picking up and hugging a dog, excitedly shouting and squealing, which is something children do often. And then, of course, kissing a dog. So helping children with their own body language through a greeting can be really helpful. So coming up here in just a moment, I'm going to bring my daughter in here and we're going to talk about consent to pet. So
yes.
my favorite phrase is pet, pause. And I can't remember where I heard it from. So if we have trainers tuning in that want to tell me who says pet, pause, I'm very sorry, but it's not something I made up. But dogs should be given consent for handling just like humans should be. So not every human likes hugs, and we wouldn't run up to every single human and hug them. Some people don't even like to shake hands. So dogs have a right to say no, and there's ways that they can tell us to do that. So one of the principles that I always tell people is that sniffing is also not consent to pet. A dog goes into information seeking mode first when they first meet a new person. Their primary goal is to sniff you and find out who you are, where you've been, and all of that stuff. And it does not mean they want to be touched. What can happen during that time is that when you reach down, you startle the dog. And sometimes we get a dog that will lunge and bite, or they'll move away, back away, run away, those sorts of things. So what I like to impress upon children is that when a dog is sniffing you, that is not consent to pet. So consent to pet is presenting your hand in a neutral position to the dog. So what I typically do is I just put my hands like this near my lap. I'm not pushing them towards the dog's face. That's kind of asking to get, a defensive bite on my hands, but just present like this and see if the dog comes into my space, right? So if the dog moves in, we have consent to pet. And what we want to do is pet down the chest instead of over the top of the head. So the dog will lose peripheral vision towards the back here, and touching the neck can feel very threatening to a dog. So we want to pet, pause, pull back, present the hands again, and see if the dog moves into our space, right?
Right.
So if the dog stands still, looks away, or moves away, no consent. We want to also watch for other stress signals as well. So I've got these examples on the bottom here. So this is a really great example of a dog that is really unsure about this hand coming towards behind its head. We've got really prominent whale eye going on here, the whites of the eye showing. It does appear that the dog has its ears pinned back as well. They're not in a neutral, happy position, relaxed position. They're pinned back. And then we've got the mouth really tight here. We've got a tight lip. So this dog, this one's hard to say because dogs will squint when they're happy and they will sometimes, just be in a Zen mode. One thing about photos is we only get this one little snapshot in time. I love to break down videos a little bit more. I do have a 15-minute body language breakdown of TikTok trends on my YouTube page. And it's also in both of my courses as well, where I talk about kind of what's going on because dogs speak with their whole body. But what you may see is something kind of similar to this that's called a lip lick. So, and this dog could be happy. I don't know, but it's just an example of, what a tongue may look like when a dog is more stressed, or if they're backing away and squinting and lip licking, that's probably, that shrink away is like, I'm not feeling this right now.
I'm going to pull up your YouTube page real quick and put it in the comments. Mindful methods.
Yeah, you got it right. youtube.com/@mindfulmethodstraining.
Because you just mentioned a video about TikTok trends, which is where most kids are getting most young kids are getting their information there. Mindful methods training. Here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to find the video you just specifically mentioned and put it in the comments.
Okay. I also have a blog called Viral in Virulent, and it's linked on that blog post too. So that might be the quickest way for you to find it.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it's like the second blog I ever wrote, but that mashup is on
your website. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
But anyways, this hand position here, this dog just looks happy to me. The ears are loose. The lip is loose. The tongue is loose. But the position of the hand here, petting down the chest, is the only reason why I included it. So, all right. So we are going to get into the live demo with my daughter. And then I have just a few more slides for you guys after that. And then it'll be Q&A time. So
okay, everyone, get your questions ready. Everybody get your questions ready. Jessie's going to get her daughter. Her daughter's 10 years old and
your turn,
very savvy because she's been raised in a home with a dog trainer and a rescuer. So her daughter's going to be super savvy. But she's going to show a little example of what she would teach a parent with children, how to interact with a dog. This is exciting. And then also... check out Jessie's website, mindfulmethodstraining.com. She has a lot of great information. Hi, Jessie. What's your daughter's name?
What's your name?
Marley.
Nice to meet you, Marley. Thank you for helping us out today.
Now, Marley is the cat whisperer, so she will probably end up being a cat trainer someday, and then I'll have a cat division, right?
Awesome. Fantastic.
All right. So when I am teaching a child about consent to pet exercises, I always like to use a stuffed animal before I go into using a live animal with them. And I'll practice this a lot, or, I'll teach parents to practice this a lot.
Right.
And then you want to move on to friendly dogs a lot. And then, so they're well prepared for dogs that might be a little bit spooky around them.
Right.
So when a dog approaches you, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to sniff you all over. And all I want you to do is keep your hands in your lap. Okay. Keep your hands in your lap for me. Let's make sure you can see the screen here. Let's move you back. There we go. And we just want them to be a tree, basically, while this dog sniffs around. So go ahead and reach out for that dog while they're sniffing. What do you think that means?
They're scared and they were more focused on sniffing.
That's right. Can you tell she's done this before?
Wow.
All right. So when you're ready to pet a dog, if they seem like they're kind of still hanging around you and they're interested in you, maybe they're jumping on your legs, their tail's wagging around, we want to do a process for petting. We call it pet pause. So what I want you to do is reach out for the dog, and I want you to pet down the chest twice, and then pull your hands back, and let's see what happens. Pet, pause. And if the doggy is interested, they're going to move in and nuzzle your hands again. They want more pets. So go ahead and pet, pause again. Pet, pause. Perfect. All right. So sometimes when you pet a doggy over the top of their head, that can make them feel really, really nervous. So go ahead and reach out over the top of that doggy's head, and the doggy might move away like that. That means no, thank you, right? All right, awesome. So now, when you're doing pet pause, sometimes dogs won't be as obvious. Sometimes they won't move away. Sometimes they might turn their head away instead. So go ahead and pet. Yikes. Yep, you did the perfect thing by withdrawing your hands from the dog.
Good job, Harley.
So what other things do you think a dog might do if they feel really concerned during a greeting?
They can run away, and they can show their teeth at you, or like bite you, or like growl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you do if that happened?
I would give them some space.
That's right.
Wow. She knows her stuff. Thank you. That was so fantastic. Wow.
So you can
teach her friends too. Like when she's out in the world, she's going to be teaching all of her friends.
Yeah, I never have to really worry about her with other dogs. And in fact, we were out trick-or-treating the other day, and there was a dog in a driveway on lead that was surrounded by probably 5 other kids. And I told her, don't touch that dog, because I watched one of the kids walk up and touch the dog's back, and he turned sharply and ducked and lip licked. And I'm like, don't touch that dog. And she just takes my word. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
First she said, why? And I said, because it's silently freaking out. And she said, okay. So she knows when to listen to me and stuff like that. But that's through practice of greeting so many strange dogs in my home as a foster home. So
right.
So, all right, just a couple more slides for you guys.
Okay. And if anyone's watching and has questions, get them ready.
I do have on my YouTube page, I have consent to pet that I'm doing with my dogs too. So you can watch me do it with my own family pets.
Consent to pet. I'm going to go put that in the comment section here. I'll find the video and put it in the comments.
I'm going to request to present again here.
Yes. Okay. There we go. You got the screen.
All right. So just a reminder for you guys that if you tuned in late, I am giving 50% of all sales for my digital courses back to Camp Cocker for the remainder of this month. So the body language mini course is going to be a great addition to this talk. And then my behavior basics course includes this talk, plus a ton more concepts about kids and dogs, as well as a ton more concepts about other stuff that people call me about. So
that's so great.
Topic.
And then also, like anyone looking to for a force-free trainer, there's Jessie does virtual dog training. You just do it like this, like on Zoom or FaceTime or something, right?
Yeah, but I work with my own dogs when I do that. So you'll see an example of a dog learning it or doing it, and then I coach you through it, which is basically what happens in an in-home session. Is I am teaching the people how to train their dogs. There is really nothing that I can't address virtually that I can, in person. So
That's great that you do virtual training, because not everyone lives in an area where they have access to a force-free dog trainer. So it's great that you offer virtual training.
and you guys can find me, of course, on my website, mindfulmethodstraining.com. Please feel free to email me, info@mindfulmethodstraining.com. I do phone consultations as well. So if you love to read, I try to blog. I have aspirations to blog once a month, but that doesn't always happen. But you can subscribe in the footer of my website. So I put out just lots of different random behavior things. And there's some up there for you right now for you to read already. Please socialize with me, like and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and then subscribe to my YouTube page. A little shameless plug here. Sorry.
Yes, we put all the. Okay, here's your YouTube page.
Yeah.
If anyone's on YouTube, go follow Jessie. Let me put your. Here's your Instagram. If anyone's on Instagram.
It's pretty easy. I'm at Mindful Methods Training on all major platforms.
Yeah.
I'm not on TikTok yet, but yeah, that's my handle everywhere. So,
and then here's to buy any digital courses. Like Jessie said, 50% off. 50% of what you buy this month in the month of November will be donated to Camp Cocker, which is awesome. And your courses are going to be valuable to help a lot of people. So that's fantastic.
I do have a community Facebook group. You do not have to be a client.
Oh, yeah, the Facebook group. Here, let me.
Yeah. Come in and share photos of your pets, cats, dogs, birds, guinea pigs, your pet rock. I don't care. If you don't have a pet, come hang out with me.
Yeah. Mindful retreat. Look, I'm in it. I'm in your Facebook group. Look at that. All sorts of great tips and stuff. Yeah, look, so much great information in that Facebook group.
So I got for you guys.
So let's see. Now's your chance. Anyone watching who has questions about dogs and children, safety, dog and child safety? Let's see if anyone pops into the comments. Let me go over to comments, and then we'll see if anyone has any questions. And if they don't, let me. I'm just gonna throw out some examples of some issues that we come across, like in rehoming or adopting out dogs. So, one thing is, I get very nervous when someone applies to adopt and they have children under the age of 7. And some Cocker Spaniel rescue groups actually won't adopt out to homes with children under the age of 10. It's just, they won't. And for me, it's like, if I know that we have a dog, a rare dog that is exceptional, like their temperament is exceptional, and if the parents are savvy and going to do things like manage, then I'm more comfortable adopting a Cocker Spaniel to a home with a toddler in it. And when we have like a Cocker mix or a non-Cocker Spaniel, I'm less worried about toddlers, but I think I should be as worried. Because if it's a small breed, I should be as concerned, even if it's not a Cocker Spaniel. But I'm wondering, like, for your rescue group, when you're adopting out to homes with toddlers, do you have an age restriction, or is there something that your rescue group does to ensure that the parents know how to keep the children safe?
We have an age restriction of no kids under 7 as well. And then it varies by dog too. So sometimes we'll just list dogs as like teens and up, or adults only. Even sometimes we will make exceptions for homes that have had Dobermans before with their children. Very, very savvy homes. Kids that have lived with Dobermans already can sometimes be an exception to that rule too. But particularly when you're talking about very powerful breeds, it can be a very scary thing. And then we won't just adopt out a Doberman that, like, they have to have known history with children that age, being okay with them, right? So we never just put a dog in a home with a child that wasn't in a foster home with the child.
Yeah. And the problem for us is we don't have any foster homes that have children. Well, I mean, we don't have a lot of foster homes to begin with. And the ones that we do have are adult only foster homes. So we never really know. The only thing we can just sort of guess, if the dog has an exceptional temperament, they might be okay with children. And so it's hard to know. I feel parents are frustrated because I hear this complaint a lot. You rescuers make it impossible to adopt, so we have to go to a breeder. And it's I don't want to send people to breeders, but I just want to keep everyone safe, the child and the dog. I want everyone to, I'm just, that's a priority to me, is child and dog safety.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there's something additional we can do. Like, for example, one of your digital courses, should I have that be a requirement that parents watch it? Or do you have any suggestions? Because it's already so hard to adopt a dog from us. Like, we have this long ass questionnaire. It's 70 questions. People complain, why do you ask so many questions? It's like, well, no, because we're trying to set the dog and you up. We're trying to set you both up for success.
Yeah.
That's why so many questions. And then we do a home check and an interview and vet references. But is there something additionally we should be doing for people with children?
I mean, you could require some sort of course, but I do feel like even my body language mini course is like 35, 40, 45 minutes long. It might be a big requirement for people still.
Yeah, it might turn people off.
It's hard. I could see you requiring foster homes and volunteers and stuff.
Which we don't really have very many foster homes, and we definitely don't have any that have children. So,
potentially foster to adopt situations too, so that it doesn't feel so permanent.
Right.
For people and for you,
Yeah.
I think sometimes people feel like a failure when they adopt a dog and then it didn't work out and the dog has to come back to a foster to adopt situation. It might alleviate some of that guilt.
Yeah, we will do foster to adopt if it's a local home, and unless someone's 100% positive, like, no, we don't need 2 weeks. But many of our dogs get adopted outside of the Los Angeles area because there's just not a lot of Cocker Spaniels in shelters. So there's people that we've adopted all over the US. People have traveled here. People have to travel to us to adopt from us. People have come here from Georgia, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, Idaho, Washington State, Oregon, Arizona, Texas. So we have dogs that have been adopted all over the US, but they do have to travel here to meet the dog in person. So those out-of-state people don't get the 2-week tryout because it's just they're not local.
Yeah. I mean, even some breeders will have age restrictions.
Really?
When you're talking about ethical breeders of large breed dogs and stuff too, will be more concerned about the age of the children in the home. So, and it's not because we're trying to be mean as rescuers,
right.
Or it's because these things that happen and the choices that dogs make really do affect the types of homes they can go to in the future. It makes them harder to adopt. It makes them a liability when they bite. Rescues can have consequences for those sorts of things. So it's very serious. So it's not that people are being hard on you or don't like you. Or, we spend so much time and energy in rescuing dogs, and pouring money into their medical care and stuff. And it's just in the interest of the dog. So
Right. And, like I always say, child safety is more important to me than disappointing a potential adopter, because adopters will be disappointed if they don't get the dog they applied for.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have that person be disappointed and their child is safe than putting a dog in their home when I know it's not a good match if there's a child. So, so anyway, yeah, it's hard to know what to ask of parents if they're going to adopt and they have children in the home that are small, that are young. It's just hard to know because I don't want to turn people off, but I want parents to learn this information.
Yeah.
You
I gave you the doggydrawings.net.
Yes.
If you have digital folders that you send home, you could potentially include some child-friendly infographic for them, requiring your foster homes to do some education with which foster homes are some of the most fatigued groups of people on the planet. But, we do ask that our fosters sit down and go through our adoption folders and all of the different things and just have a little education session with people. But maybe some more emphasis on that for people who have kids.
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers.
I know, and I don't either. So yeah, so it's just I want to do better when I'm adopting dogs to homes with children. And sometimes parents listen to the information I give them, because I do give them like handouts. I give them the information about don't allow your children to ever hug a dog. And there's some handouts I give them, but I'm going to get some more from doggydrawings.net to pass out as well. But yeah, it's a hard thing to juggle, like not turning off people and discouraging them from adoption, but also arming them with information to keep their children safe. You know. So anyway, well, no one has questions. So I guess we can wrap this up. I'm thinking people are going to watch this later and then on the replay. But if anybody has any questions, I'm going to put your website back up here again. So Jessie is a force-free dog trainer, and she does virtual training. So you can hire her from wherever you live. And she has a lot of great information on her website. She has, here's some must-have books. If you have children, check out the books that she recommends for people with children and dogs. And then she has digital courses. And for the month of November, any digital courses that you purchase, 50% is going to be donated to Camp Cocker, which is so generous. Thank you, Jessie. And then find her on all the socials. You can she's at Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So anyway, all right. Thank you so much, Jessie. Thank you for your time today. I know we ran longer than I told you we were going to be.
That's okay.
But thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you to everyone for watching, and hope this information was helpful. All right. Thank you, Jessie. I'm going to end the live stream. Let's see here.